So today I decided to just try something I haven't, a little bit different than I've tried it before. I've worked with these infusions before, but I just want to try something a little bit different. And why not experiment together? And if it doesn't work out, well then we'll all learn to do it a little differently. What I want to come up with a project with a card that is bright and shiny as well. So I pulled out my infusions in the brightest colors that I have here at home. They have a lot of colors, but out of the ones I have, these are the brightest. And normally when I shake these out, I have a little hole poked in the top. I shake it out and it kind of goes all over. And that's okay. But for this, I wanted to do a lot of colors, but yet I don't want them all to be mixed together as one color. So I want to have a little bit of control of where it's going. So I'm just taking this dry paintbrush just to get a little bit of this, oh that's too much, out of my bottle. And that's not where I intended it to go, but you know what? That's where it's going. So that's where we'll put it now. That's a lot there. This happens to be magenta. This one is frankly scarlet. Again, I'll just put a dry paintbrush in there. Put a little area of it over here. Maybe just a little area of it over here too. It takes so little of this powder to make a whole bunch of color, so it goes a long way. So it's well worth experimenting with because it won't take very much. Yeah, maybe we'll put some up in that corner too. This color happens to be in the navy. So that one isn't actually a bright color. It's just a way of adding some blue in there. This one's raspberry. Not that the name of the color is really going to matter. We're just going to have colors. Lots of splotches of color on here. I think raspberry is nice and bright, so we'll put a little bit extra of that on here. And maybe even a little over here. And then some yellow. This will be some high contrast, I think. That's how I picture it. And maybe I'll just fill in some of these other spots. And now I have this kind of big blank area here, so I need to have something in there. Maybe, what was one of my first colors? Maybe this magenta? I don't even remember what I put where, so this may just be a whole bunch combining together, but we'll see. I think that'll be okay. Okay, so I have a lot of powder on there, some mystery colors or colors in mystery spots, and let's see what happens now. So this is just water. And that is just bursting into delicious colors. And some of them are kind of mixing. And I could stop with the squirting, but I kind of like that. Kind of like that effect where it's all going together. And get it to run or not. I think what I should do is have a paper towel handy here. And just soak up some of that extra moisture. I like this spatter around the edge. In fact, I should take, surely, I have some more cardstock here, yeah. I wish I had a tag handy, but I don't, because that would be a great tag to soak it up. I have a piece of paper. So kind of different. That's got some yummy pigment on there. And I just, I love this color, these colors in this product. So I just don't want to wipe that up and waste it all. We'll make something out of this. So normally I don't do this hodgepodge of colors. I just kind of do one or two at a time. So we'll just see what happens here. I don't really care for where it's all pooling on the edge, so I'm going to soak some of that up. But ooh, a lot of vibrant colors in there. So I could let it air dry, but I'm going to heat it just to make it go a little bit faster. So that's it dry. So let's take a look at it. It didn't turn out the way I anticipated or what I envisioned. It's much darker than what I was actually going for. I would say it's because of the walnut stain that is also in the infusions. So not as bright as I would like, but I'm okay with it. And I also wanted to see if I could get this glittery, so it's a little bit more mystical looking. So I'm taking out this Sheer Shimmer spray, and you can see where it has a lot of the shimmer accumulated at the bottom of the bottle. So you know you got to shake that really well. Get all that shimmer off the bottom so it's nice and floating in your spray. And then, to avoid making too much of a mess, I'll put some paper towel under that. Ooh. Oh, I hope you can see this on camera. It is just sizzling with some sparkle now. Definitely got some shine on there. Okay, now I really like that. But I would still like to have it, ooh, I like that. I would still like to have it brighter color, so less of that walnut stain, more of the colors. So let's just set that aside and let the shimmer dry, and then I'm going to experiment with this again. So see on this one, it's more of the brightness, less of the dark areas. And this is the one where I just cleaned up my craft mat with it. So I'm thinking more water, less powder. Let's try that. So this time I will spray my water or my paper first. And you can see even where little stray pieces of powder are already activating on there. Okay, that's quite a bit of water. Okay, but again, I want to, rather than sprinkle this and go all over, I'm still going to attempt to try and get this kind of in blotches of color. So I'll go in with my paintbrush. Whew. And you can see when it hits the water, it does start to just activate right away, right? This way with a wet first maybe gives me a little more control. At least I know what color I'm putting down because I can see it burst into color. And we'll do some, that one was the raspberry. Nice and vibrant. I really like that. This one is frankly scarlet. So a little more of an orange coming out there. Ooh, I got quite a bit there. And you can always add more water. And what would happen if I took some of these darker walnut chunks and tried to pick them up? Okay, so that changes it definitely. Takes the dark out, so maybe that'll get it a little bit more of the vibrant look I'm looking for. So that was raspberry and the scarlet. Let's add in the navy. And you see it's not, that one's not reacting as much, and it's just because my water is starting to evaporate a little bit as I'm going here. So there's not as much water left on there. But there's enough that I can tell where I've put my colors now. Super vibrant, wow. But I'm going to take off some of that, just some of the dark. See what happens there. And then we're going to add some of this magenta. And again, I'm just doing this all with the dry paintbrush. If it was a wet paintbrush, well, you'd have a mess because it reacts with the water, right? And this isn't that much different than the raspberry, a little bit, but not enough to be very noticeable. Like it kind of looks like it's almost the same color, a little different, a little more raspberry than pink, or pink than raspberry. I like that magenta. When I was a kid and in my Crayola coloring set, that was my favorite color, magenta. So I guess I still like it. Sometimes favorites don't change, eh? And then we'll just add a little yellow for some contrast here. Well, it's not yellow, it's called Lemoncello, because they have fancy names for these. Okay, there's lots on there. Lots. And let's add some more water, get that really activated. And then I'm just going to try daubing up some of these darker walnut stained areas. See if that lightens it a bit or brightens it. Don't want the walnut stain to totally disappear, but yeah, it does make it brighter. Yeah, I like that. And I want it to flow and cover up the white areas. Maybe I will raspberry magenta. I think I'm just going to add some more of this one, raspberry. Just to get rid of that white. And maybe a tiny bit over here. Tiny bit there. Okay, that should be lots. And then again, I'm just going to dab up some of those dark areas. See if we can get them to brighten up a little bit. Liking that. I like this, how it's kind of streaking. So even though you don't have control over it, or not much control, it just ends up in some cool designs. It's just fun to see what's going to happen. Yeah, I think that will work. So here's the difference between the two. Ooh, now this one's got that beautiful sparkle, which I really like. But this is much more vibrant to me, where this has a lot of the darker areas. Almost looks like when you look out into the universe, into maybe some kind of a dark sky, but it's got some cool colors in it. And unfortunately, I don't have a piece. This would be beautiful to have a tag and just wipe that up so that we're not wasting anything. And I think I should dry that before I put sparkles on it, because I do want it to sparkle again. Notice how this paper is curling. Look how much it's curled while I'm drying it. But I don't stress about that. I'll show you a little tip to get it flat again. So that's good and dry, and I like the brightness of it, and it is different. It is different. One's dark, one's light. So that's how you can have it a little darker or a little lighter. And notice how this one's very, very curled, whatever angle you look at it. It's got a lot of curl in there. So, and this is just regular Basil brand cardstock. It's not mixed media paper, which would, if you used mixed media paper, you're not going to have as much issues with it curling. But all I'm going to do is lay this face down and heat it on the back side. And you see it starting to lay flat again. So that's pretty good. Now it's almost flat. And if you can't get your paper to go flat, because here's another tip for it, because what's happening is we've taken one side of the paper, we've soaked it, and then we're putting heat on it. So it's changing the fibers of the paper and causing them to curl up. So if we did something similar on both sides, it's more likely going to go back to flat. So if heating it on the back side isn't enough, I sometimes give it just a very light mist, not as much water as I did on the front, but with that light mist, and then heat it again, and it tends to bring those fibers back flat how they were originally. There we go. And now we need our sprinkle, which has already started. The glitter started to settle on the bottom, even though I used it just a few minutes ago. So I'll give that a shake to make sure that the bottom of the bottle is clear and you don't see any glitter accumulated there. So you know now it's all floating in the liquid, nice and sparkly. Oh yeah, beautiful sparkles in there. Whew, beautiful. Hopefully you can see some shine on there. Lovely shine. Love it. Just makes it look magical. In real life, it looks better than it does on the screen. So there's two. One with a little dark, one with a little lighter, and one for just soaking up the mess on the craft mat. Well, let's add some sparkle there too. Why not? Sure, now it's a sparkly mess, but I can use that for something. So even like this, if you don't really care what it looks like, and maybe you don't want this to be the front of your card, use a punch and just punch out shapes, or use a die cut and cut out shapes. So this gives you that mixed media look, like for a butterfly, a flower, a heart shape, any of those. That would look great with this background. And I think what would look good on here, if I use it as a card, I could actually cut it in half and use that. But have something white for contrast. So maybe mat it on a white, put this onto a white card, and have the die cut in white. Let's try that. Or gold, or silver. We'll try something. So I'm going to take this darker one, cut that up like into a card front. Let's see what that measures. It's kind of a big piece right now. So it's 4 1/4 by 7 inches. So I could make a 4 1/4 by a 5 1/2 card, or what could I do? Cut it into 1-inch strips and make a card, or 1/2-inch strips. 3/4 inch strips, maybe all, yeah. I'm going to do some strips and see what that looks like. So here's a tip too, when you're cutting such a narrow strip, so when I put this guard down, there isn't room for my fingers to hold the paper. So now I could hold it on this side, but I'm right-handed, so I like to hold it left, cut with the right. So the tip is, since I'm not hanging on to it at all I'm doing is pressing down on this clear plate of my cutter in order to attempt to hold that still. I am using my blade from the bottom going up, because then if the paper shifts at all, it's going to have less actual movement to it, because if this starts pushing the paper and the paper wants to move, it's just pressing it harder against this top ridge that's holding it in place. Where if I use the blade from the top and pull down, then if it wants to shift the paper, it has a lot of room to go sideways on me. And I just want it to be nice, straight, even. So I do tend to cut from the bottom and push up. So a little tip if you're having issues with that, your paper not cutting real straight, especially when you get down to a narrow strip where you're not actually hanging on to the paper. I don't know why I'm cutting so many strips, but we'll come up with something for it. Okay, so there's a few. I should stop and make something out of that. Okay, so I cut a little die cut of a thanks out here, and I have my little strips. So this is just a very, very simple card to use some of the pieces of it out of. I think I will use some good strong adhesive, and maybe I should actually ink those. Should I ink the edges a little bit? I think I should, so that the edge of the white cardstock is not showing through quite so drastically. And maybe I'll just ink them with black. Maybe even just running that edge. Oh yeah, that makes a difference. Just covers up any exposed white there. Yeah, I like that better. And just a quick little way to cover up any white from the paper, because that was white paper that I used on there. Just happen to use the Distress Black Soot, but any black ink will work for that. And then I want to glue that down nice and tight. Have it hold really secure. Now, if you put some time into it, I'm sure you could come up with a much more creative design for a card, but this is just something where you can use the pieces. And let's see, maybe I could even line these up again. Is that how it went? I'm not really sure how these go together, but you know what? It doesn't necessarily matter. I think they went like that. So that would be my top one. So this one I'll put on first. And if they stick over the edge of my card just a little bit, and then I'll just take a pair of scissors and trim them after I have them all on here. This would work for a guy's card too, right? Because it's not all flowery and ladylike. It almost looks a little bit like I don't know, a sky, like the universe type thing is what it makes me think of. Now this is going to end up being very dark just because the card itself is black. The next one I think I'll choose white to put on there. And then for this thanks, I'm going to get out this StickySpecks, which I really like for these die cuts. Just press that on there, and when I take it out, it's turned into a sticker. And I see part of it I put down in a spot that didn't have a lot of stick, this corner that I've used a lot. So I'm just going to do it again on a spot that has more stick to it. That's a fresh area I haven't used before, so that'll have a lot. I think. Okay, that should stick good now. Oh yeah. And maybe I'll just put it along here. There, and there's one card done. Other than, I wonder what would happen. Oh, now I've got sticky on my finger. If I just put some of the shimmer even over the black. Okay, so I think I better put a paper towel down here so I can overspray a little bit. And just shoot this whole thing. Does it make a difference on the black cardstock? It does. It makes it glittery. Ooh, love it. And it's okay now that even this has 2 coats of it on it. It doesn't seem to change it up. It just adds sparkle. So the whole thing, even the black, has got some sparkle to it. And nothing wrong with adding some sparkle to man birthday cards too, right? So this would be a great sparkle to add just to whatever your Christmas card is. Just put a splash of sparkle on there. Okay, so for another one, I think I do have some cut strips here. Oh, this is where I cut, I was going to show you this thanks die. I just cut it out of, this is the scrap piece that I used to clean up my work surface. So, and there's where I cut it out. So you can definitely make use of those. And that. Yeah, I can do something with all of those. But I'd like to try it against white too. So we have this one that I did. And I want to put that onto white cardstock. And that gives it a nice wide white border, so it'll really, I think it really makes it stand out even more. And I'm going to put some black on that edge too, just to hide any of the white core from the cardstock. So I'm not actually distressing the edges at all, I'm just covering up that white core that's in there, and then put some of my soup wang on there. I like this because it's super strong. And I guess it doesn't really matter what's the top or the bottom or anything. It's just, it's all full of color. So I'll try to get that reasonably centered, which I didn't. Move it over a little bit. And then I also did die cut out a white thanks because I thought that would give some good contrast on there. And before I put that down, I also have, this just keeps making me feel like it's the universe. So I pulled out this washi tape. Now, is that going to add to this card or would this detract from it? It certainly makes you think of the universe because now it's got, or the sky, whatever, because it's got the stars in it. And this is coming from the Vicki Boutin Storyteller washi tape, where she's got a lot of rolls in there, and there's some really cool ones. So I think I will put it on here. Should have actually tucked it around the back. Maybe I can. Put a little piece of it, sneak it in there. Whew, works. And then put it across, and then I'm just going to tear it. I want like an uneven tear there. There we go. Just to add a little something that makes you feel like it's the night sky. And then I have this gold strip that is also from that same package of Vicki Boutin washi tape. And we'll try this on there. I'm going to try and sneak a piece of that behind it too. And rather than try to get them line up perfectly, I'm just going to slightly overlap them. And nothing needs to be perfect. Can I tear this one? Well, that one tears kind of straight. And actually, I don't want it straight. Can I see if I can pick that up and get it crooked? when you want things to go straight, you can't always. When you want them to go crooked, they don't always. That's the life of crafting, but we'll just cut it crooked then. There, got a little bit of a slant going at least. Just so that it's not perfect. And then I think if we add this on here in white, it'll stand out nice so that our focal point is this white thanks. Put down where I've got some stick to it. And then when I pull it back up, we got ourselves a sticker. I do like that. And could I get this roughly in the center of the card, maybe? I do find it's a little bit tricky to work with because now it's all sticky. There we go. So there's a thanks card, and I still have quite a bit of this that I can make something out of, and a couple more sheets. So really, while you're playing with something like this where it's kind of messy, a little bit of mixed media type stuff, I like to actually do a few sheets of it at once, and then I always have a few that I can pull out for other projects. They're kind of ready to go. But there's a couple of quick ideas, one a little brighter, one a little darker. Hope you give that a try. Happy crafting!